Hi, it's time for another story from the Pasadena Public Library. Now, this is an old story from Ireland, and you may think that Irish stories are something you only hear around St. Patrick's Day, but no, they're for all year around. And this is the story of Tom and the Leprechaun. Now, Tom always wanted to be rich, but he just didn't have a way to do it. There was one way, though, that if you could catch a leprechaun, you could make it give you its pot of gold. Now, leprechauns made gold by making shoes for all the other fairy folk and selling them, and since the fairy folk were able to produce gold whenever they wanted, they paid in gold, and so the leprechauns got a pot of gold. But you had to catch a leprechaun to do it. One day, Tom was out walking in the fields, and from behind a bush, he heard a tiny sound. Tap, 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 tap. Almost as if it was a tiny hammer tapping a tiny nail into a tiny shoe. And so he crept closer and closer and closer. And there, behind a bush, he saw a leprechaun making shoes on a little shoe bench. And he reached down and grabbed the leprechaun by the scruff of the neck and held it in front of him and said, "Now, leprechaun, you got to give me your pot of gold." "Well," said the leprechaun, "it's not exactly near here. We'll have to go there." "All right, take me to your pot of gold right now." "All right," said the leprechaun. "Just put me down and follow me." "Oh, no. I'm going to carry you, and you're going to take me there." "All right," said the leprechaun. "I'll give you the directions." And they set off walking, Tom walking and carrying the leprechaun. Well, there they walked, left and right, up over hill and down into valley, until finally they came to a great field of flowers. Tom said, "That's where it's buried?" And the leprechaun said, "Well, sure. Just walk into the field and I'll show you." They walked into the field of flowers. And there, near a bush that had a flower that was like all the other flowers around, the leprechaun said, "There, under that bush. Now, how are you going to dig it up?" Tom thought, "I don't have a shovel. I'll have to go get one." "Okay," said the leprechaun, "I'll just wait here." "Oh, no," said Tom. "You have to make me a promise." "First, you'll leave the gold where it is." "All right," said the leprechaun. "I'll leave the gold there all day. You can spend all day digging it up." "And you can't move the gold someplace else. It has to stay there till I come back." "It'll stay there till you come back and all the rest of the day. Not a problem." "And you can't take away this field of flowers." "Oh, okay, I won't take away the field of flowers. It'll still be here." "Fine," said Tom. And then he did something the leprechaun was surprised by. He took off one of his shoelaces and tied it around the flower and said, "You've promised these things, and your word as a leprechaun is your word, so I'm letting you go now." And he put the leprechaun down, and he went off to get a shovel. Well, the leprechaun was as good as his word. He didn't take away the gold that day, he didn't move the gold that day, and he didn't take away the flowers. But when Tom came back with a shovel over his shoulder, what he saw was that every flower in that whole field had a shoelace tied around its stem, just like his. Well, he spent that whole day digging and didn't find the gold. And he realized what the leprechaun had said. And by the end of the day, when he hadn't found the gold, he knew the leprechaun had won. He didn't come away with a bucket of gold. or even a single piece of gold. But he came away with the knowledge that not everyone can catch a leprechaun, and at least he'd have a story to tell. And that was the story of Tom and the leprechaun.